Hey guys, how you all doing today? So I'm back with part 2 on how to solo and improvise over the classic track The Chicken. I did a part 1 yesterday and I will post that in the description below the video. So go and check that out. Before I start the lesson, if you do like what I do, please think about subscribing to my channel and ringing that bell so you know when I'm uploading any content, and also give that thumb up down below, a bit of a thumb up I guess, but yeah, it helps me out too, so much appreciated, and I'm just enjoying continuing to make content for you guys. So yesterday I talked about some minor pentatonics, some major pentatonics, and the blues scale that we can kind of use over the first part of the progression. So I'm going to expand on some of this and some of the ideas that I like to use over the first part of the progression, and then talk about the second half of the progression. So the progression, if you've forgotten, it's all dominant 7th chords, which is really nice to think about. It's one less thing to think about, I guess. So we have a B flat dominant 7th chord, and this lasts for 8 bars, so we're on this for quite a while. And then we go to an E flat dominant 7th chord, then we go a semitone lower to a D dominant 7th, or D9, which goes to a G7, and then we end up the last chord being a C7, okay, before the riff. Okay, which I'll talk about that riff a bit later on, maybe in this video, maybe in part 3, because it is quite vital to know that, to bring it back round to the home. Anyway, so like I say, we talked about the pentatonics. The next thing I want to know, which you should know to be able to play over any track really, especially when there's changes, is your arpeggios. Okay, so we have a dominant 7th chords all throughout the track, so we need to know our dominant 7th arpeggios. So firstly, we strip it back. What are the intervals of a dominant 7th chord? We have a root, a 3rd, a 5th, and a flat 7, okay? So over the first chord, let's just take the chord 1, B flat, and we'll do my root position arpeggio. I have a root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7, root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7, root. So this is my B flat 7 arpeggio. It goes without saying, you should know your arpeggios off each interval, okay? So know them off your root, the 3rd, the 5th, the flat 7, okay? Because you don't want to be dancing around the neck if you just know the root and you're just moving to the nearest root. If you're doing your arpeggios from the low E string to the high E string, you'll find it more beneficial if you know them off each interval of the chord. So I'm going to post a PDF of the arpeggios below as well. So if you don't know your arpeggios, I'm going to post that below in a Dropbox link. You can download that. Okay, so if I'm around this position of the neck, I'll be using my B flat off the root position. Okay, so I'll just call out the frets quickly. So it's 6th fret low E string with the middle finger, 5th fret A string with the first finger, my little finger 8th fret A string as well. Then I'm on my 6th fret D string with my first finger, and then I'm back to my root, which is the 3rd finger on the 8th fret, okay, on the D string. And then I go to the middle finger, 7th fret G string, which is my 3rd, 6th fret on the B string, which is my 5th, little finger is on the 9th fret B string, which is my flat 7, and then I finish up on my root, which is the high E string on the 6th fret, okay, and the B flat. So we've got. So then when I go to my E flat, the chord, the next in the progression, I'm not just going to use that same shape because it's too much going on. I should be able to know where my nearest interval is of E flat and play my arpeggio there. So I can see my E flat here, and I do the shape with the middle finger here. Now, if I want to complete so I can get right to the low E string, I can see here's my root, 3rd, 5, flat 7, root, 3rd, 5, flat 7, my flat 7 here, and then my 5th below it as well. So it's really important that you can do from the low E to the high E. So instead of me going up to the E flat here on the E string, I know where my intervals are, so I can play it on the nearest, the nearest shape next to that B flat. See what I mean? And then you do the same for the other chord. So D, you can just move the E flat shaped semitone lower. And then I have my G. Well, I guess I could move it here and play the root position arpeggio. I can see my third of G is here, and I play the shape I know for the third. Here. And then my last one is C, and I do this off the flat 7. Or I could do it off the root there. So let me just play the progression again, and I'll play all of it this time, and when I get to the latter part of the progression where it goes to the D7, G, and then to the C, it's quite quick movement, so I'm only really going to be thinking about the chord tones at that particular point, so thinking the arpeggios, but I'm going to mix the pentatonic to start with some of the arpeggio notes, and you can hear combining that sounds quite cool. Okay, yeah, so you could hear then for the G, I went into that root position actually because I was just around that position, but then I came back in, so I used off my flat 7. But I don't want to stick on that too much because if you don't know the arpeggios yet, get that in your system first. And really, when you play, you don't really do this, do you? Just going through the arpeggio. You know, it's not nice sounding, isn't it? It just sounds very arpeggio-y. So you have to combine it. You see, so just little touches of the arpeggio are going to really help. You might find first that you'll be, yeah, it might sound a bit too not scaly, but like exercisey, but it's just about combining it with everything, okay? So what I was doing there is just a bit of pentatonic and the arpeggios over each chord. Just try and concentrate on maybe the first 2 chords, okay? Chords 1 and 4, so the B flat and E flat, maybe loop that and try and practice bringing the pentatonic in, like I talked about in part 1, and some chord tones like I talked about in part 1 also, but bringing the arpeggio, the key chord tones of that before you move to the D7, G7, and then to the C7. So after you've learnt the arpeggios, another thing we can use is the Mixolydian scale over each chord, really. So if I play on the B flat, I can play B flat Mixolydian. The B flat Mixolydian is like a major scale with a flat 7, so it consists of a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, back to 1. This is why it's perfect to use over a dominant 7th chord, okay? Because the notes of the chord are within the scale. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. So, over the B flat, I would play B flat Mixolydian. Over the E flat, I would play E flat Mixolydian, okay? So I changed the Mixolydian up on the chord change. When I go to the D, I could go and play D Mixolydian. Over the G, I play G Mixolydian. Over the C, I play C Mixolydian. So this is why it's really handy to know your scales around the neck and not just one shape for each each scale that you know. So for the Mixolydian or any scale, don't just know one shape. You should know it from your middle finger position, from your first finger, from your little finger. It's going to help you change scales quickly and not just using one shape and sliding up and down the neck. So I will play through the B flat to E flat and play B flat Mixolydian to E flat Mixolydian. E flat now. Okay, so I just went to the D then as well. So I take that E flat Mixolydian shape, put a semitone lower. You can fit it in some chromaticism there if you like. So I can, you know, so you can fit in some passing notes as well, which sounds really nice when you're playing, especially over this kind of track. So again, I'll do some of that with some pentatonic and Mixolydian thrown in. Okay, so again, when I went to the G, I was in G Mixolydian, and then when I get to the C, I can play C Mixolydian. So what I'm going to do now is just play a little exercise where I'm going to go between them, not really thinking phrasing. I just want you to hear what it sounds like. So this is B flat Mixolydian. E flat, D Mixolydian, G, C Mixolydian. Okay, so notice how that's a really good exercise to do, trying to change the Mixolydian over each chord. You can do that. Okay, so another scale what I like to use, and I will use this at the end for the last thing of part 2, is the Lydian Dominant scale. So the Lydian Dominant scale, if you don't know, it's kind of like a Mixolydian but with a sharp 4, okay? Or it's a Lydian with a flat 7, you can think of it like that. So this is your Lydian Dominant, B flat. So this is, yeah, a really nice one to spice it up because you have that sharp 4 in there, which is really going to sound nice over the dominant chord. So over each chord again, you can get away with this. Now, the reason why it works, because if you're on a static chord for a while, like the B flat, you can lose the Lydian Dominant scale. And over the E flat, you can get away with it there as well. And over the D, you can get away with it there as well as the G7, because it's so passing and it's going to be, the chords happen so quickly. It's just got a nice flavour to it. You can play the Mixolydian on all of them, or the Lydian Dominant. So I'll show you the shape for B flat. You have this. That's your sharp 4. Okay, so just think of it like a Mixolydian with a sharp 4. So every 4th note of the Mixolydian. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sharpen it. So chuck that in. It sounds really cool. Okay, so it's not a thing I would really target all the time, okay? The B flat is the main place where I would use the Lydian Dominant because you're on it for a bit of time, and you know, if you're on it too much, it's just going to sound irritating, but it's nice just to throw in that sharp 4 now and again. So maybe on the second half of the first, you know, on the 4 to 8 bars I would use it, so here. Okay, so yeah, I'm just probably using it too much there, but I just wanted to give you the idea of what you can do. So that's going to be the end of part 2. So I've talked about arpeggios, using the Mixolydian scale, okay, and using the Lydian Dominant. Now, just be very careful how you use all of them, okay? Because like I said at the start, you know, too much of anything is just going to sound way, you know, over the top. You know, you don't want too much salt in your food, you don't want too much sugar in your food. It just tastes a bit, well, sugar's quite nice, but you get the idea. Just little spices now and again really help out. So I'm going to love you and leave you with that. And there's going to be a part 3 because I want to talk more about that latter part of the progression. Have a go, let me know how you do, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.